Sense Nation.
Sense Nation.
Sense Nation.
This is Sense Nation. Sense Nation.
The Sense Nation.
Sense Nation. Where we make sense of life and reality. So welcome to Sense Nation, where we make sense of life and reality. You're with me, Michael Dale Janga, and today I've traveled all the way to Riro to meet Bwana Chris, Superprodusir. I'm at CMG Studios right now, and what really got me to when having this interview was other than maybe if I get here is the name Change Making Group. That's it, right?
Right.
Change Making Group, and I was like, whoa, that's more or less why this podcast is the tagline is making sense of life and reality, because once you get to make sense, you can now change is possible, and most definitely change has to happen every day. There's growth every day, the things changing every day, so definitely you have to change with it too. So today, welcome, Bwana Chris.
Thank you for having me and being here.
Yeah. Yeah, this is awesome. I've talked before, and yeah, I like your mind frame, and it makes sense. You talk with people, and you're like, that makes sense. That makes sense, and that's usually like one of the biggest criteria I use for even my interviews. Those where you sit down with them, they make sense directly or indirectly to you.
True.
So you're like, whoa, that makes sense. So, I think let's start with what do you do, Bwana Chris?
What do I do in terms of a job or my, what can I say?
My life.
My career, my life.
What does your life entail? As in, who do we know you as? Who are you known as? Who do you want to be identified as?
People know me as a music producer. I'm a music producer.
That's dope.
For most part of what I do.
Yeah.
But I also produce movies.
Nice.
At times. It's a new venture I've been going into. I'm 1 year old, so I can say I'm fairly young. But for most part of my career, I've been producing music, making music, and that's pretty much what I do.
What's most interesting about your life and reality as a music producer?
My life, interesting thing about my life and reality as a music producer. The people I meet, so many different characters. It can humble you because you meet different people, they teach you different things. So my reality is just dumb down. You don't know everything, so you constantly learn new things. There are good and bad things, so you just have to know what's good for you and what's not, what to take and what not to take.
What happens if you don't know how to do that?
It's more of an intuition thing sometimes.
No, what happens if you don't? That's what is going. What's the consequences of not knowing what's good for you and what's bad for you, and taking your course, like instead of taking the right course, since you've seen what's good and what's bad? What are the consequences of not being able to do that and moving as you move through?
First of all, not being able to know what's good and bad for you is a consequence of not knowing yourself, right? Because when you know yourself, you know what's good for you and what's not. But knowing yourself is a constant journey. So sometimes you just have to trust that the best is working in your favor, right? And there's also, I think there's also some, what can I say, there's how things work. It's like at your 11th hour, ile time yenye there's something really crucial that's supposed to happen for you, that's when you have the most resistance. So it's kind of, once you have a certain kind of awareness, the things that kind of come your way, you're able to process and adjust. So instead of reacting, you're consciously acting, right? So you probably know when to do something and when not to do. Because when something can come at you and then you're at a point of, maybe I'm not supposed to react to this, so you consciously know that hii kitu nataka tu ni tick. This just wants me to tick. So you see, it can come out as a good thing. At face value, unaweza kuwa like, this is so good for me, but you really look at it, you're like, it's a more self-awareness thing. So if you're self-aware, you know this is good for me, this isn't. It's works hand in hand.
Picking from what you just said, I like self-awareness part, the knowing yourself part, and dumping it down. Maybe it takes time, maybe, and all that. These are some of the points I should like pointing out because they help make sense of life in reality. Because I was actually googling and what making sense means. So it means to make clear, to understand better, and once you understand better, you can better react to stuff, to know what is good and what is bad for you. But again, now there's a part of knowing yourself, knowing how all this relates back to you, because it's not just things happening, it's you in between all these things that are happening for you to be like, yeah, this is good, this is bad, this is what I want, this is the good that I want, this is the bad that I don't want. But how conscious does that happen? Like, instead of just doing, you're not just doing, it's, I have to do this, and as you're doing it, you're not just doing it.
You're doing it consciously.
You're doing it consciously. So when you do stuff, do you feel like it's something you've always known, or it's something you continually know progressively?
I think it all unfolds progressively. It's like meditation. Meditation is a simple yet a very hard thing to do, right? Because it requires you to just sit down and do nothing. But then again, sitting down and doing nothing requires practice. Because once you've grown up in this system of wake up and then just subconsciously do stuff, like you don't know what you're doing, you think you know what you're doing, but it's a habit you've formed over time because of, trying to fit in, I guess. Because everything else is happening like this, so okay, let me just follow suit with whatever. I wake up in the morning, have breakfast, I go to work, come back in the evening, and that's the cycle of life every day. When you meditate, on the other hand, you're more conscious of your day. Say when you meditate in the morning for 15 minutes, you're more conscious of your day because you took the time to be calm and like put everything together, focus. So when everything is happening around you, you're more aware, like this is happening because of this, this is happening because of this. If I was a person who likes to control things, just kind of let go, because that's where we are mostly. We're trying to control. Our ego is trying to control things. These things must happen within this, and then when it doesn't, we're frustrated and life doesn't make sense anymore and all that. It's funny. We seem to have forgotten ourselves, and we are not even willing to do anything about it because we're stuck in whatever it is that is at face value. I think that's how we live mostly. So meditation works in terms of just letting things be.
Wow, when did you get to realize this? That part of there's a cycle part of doing things, and then you get tired of it, and then you realize this part and this other part, or you continually see it and you're like, it's unfolding and unfolding and unfolding. Or like, do you have a point that you can point? Hey, from this time, I saw things a bit different.
It's a good question, by the way. Most of us usually have our aha moment as a result of, sadly, most of us grow up and then we experience something that just it blocks us. I don't know. It's usually a story with everyone. I was going through some kind of, what can I say, pain, I guess. So, as progressing through that journey, you get tired of some things. You're like, mbona reactive? Because it's a cycle. It keeps happening. You're like, what the hell?
It's like a loop now you're trying to get out of now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it happened so many times until I was like, okay, wait. What is wrong? See? When I started asking myself those questions, everything in my life started to make sense. There's a reason as to why this was happening at this time. There is a reason for everything. Things don't just happen. It's as a result of that I just started having my aha moment, and it still unfolds to this day. I can't say that I know everything. I still learn new stuff. It takes practice. I'm a scientist, so once I learn something, I like to get my hands dirty. If there's a result, then I'm like, okay, that works.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. It's all based on action reaction.
And you're true to the results. That does not work, that one works. You can change it, you can tweak it to be better. This one you can reduce a bit to try to become better.
Yes, that's what makes everyone unique in their own way, right? There's no standard. There are guidelines for some things, because the world is made in a kind of order. So once you just learn this is the order of things, just kind of use that and be unique as a human being.
I usually say wisdom is understanding the order of the world, because once you understand that's how things are and you walk responsibly to them, it's a high you go low, it's a low you go high. You know, there's a time to do this, there's a time not to do that.
Exactly.
You know, I think that's what I call wisdom, because it is understanding the order, and once you understand the order, you're like, cool. You understand a kid will do something, and then you'll be like, that's you.
Yeah.
So somebody else does something, and you understand the order, you'll be like, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Actually, another sort of trippy, because that's even the tagline, making sense of life and reality. So just making sense. That time when you come into a point, you're like, the head is a cycle, and in this cycle I'm keep repeating it, but I'm getting tired of it. So you're making sense of, like, first of all, you're understanding what is hurting you, and then for you to step behind and be like, you get to observe it, and then now you get to observe it to a point. You can point out, this is where it starts, this is where it ends, this is where I need to skip out. Next time you can see it, you'll be like, I see you. This is how I'm going to understand it. Exactly.
Because most of us, especially because our generation is growing up with so many traumatic experiences, and then they're stuck in that cycle without necessarily realizing it. That's why you find that guys have emotional imbalances. Guys are killing themselves, suicide left, right, and center. It's either that or some really crime or some really hard drugs, and it happens over and over and over and over and over. If you interact with the young people in our day and age, it's either they're extremely high, or extremely depressed and they've learned how to mask it. See? So there's a crisis within ourselves because we do not have any avenues for healing. we've been brought up to deal with things in sorry to say, in a kind of Western kind of way. Quick fix. There's a pill for everything, right? So for example, you're sick, you've been having this, I don't know, pain in your bodies for a long time. You're like, I need that pain to go away, so get a pill. So instead of addressing, okay, why am I feeling pain really? You start looking back, you see, okay, is it because of my posture? Have I been sitting badly? Ama ni ile kiti fulani? You see, there's some things, just try and look back.
It will come and make sense,
right?
once you get the order.
Now, the worst thing about it is we are stuck in the matrix and the rat race. We do not have time to reflect. You don't, because it's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning. You don't have time to meditate. You have to get to work, right? There's traffic, there's everything is happening left, right, and center. There's coronavirus, there's the economy is, you see, it's a lot, there's a lot of distractions. So you're not able to really realize, okay, wait a minute. Everything that happens in my external is as a result of my internal. So when you're always chaotic within yourself, everything around you will look chaos. Even when it's peaceful. It's a perception thing. Right?
Perspective.
Right. So we have to kind of take a step back and like start looking. Stop running. Start looking. Like, what is it? What is it really? And then when you come and face your fear, utakuwa tu zile za like, there was really nothing about it. I was just nothing.
It's the donkey with a rope onto a plastic chair kind of mentality.
Right.
You're like, this is what was holding me there this whole time. So perspective, it's a very, very...
Right?
I've had a cast. And one of the craziest things is how somebody feels like they want to scratch themselves. But sometimes you show it so far, and you have nothing that can get that far.
There's nothing you can do about
That
it.
I know that you can switch it from your head, and that thing will go away. You know, there you're feeling like, I have to scratch this one. I have to scratch. But you know, you look at it, you're like, you're no longer there. And this thing goes, you're like, I never touched it. And it runs. That thing, so perception and perspective is so, because if you go crazy, like, you have to scratch it.
You'll go crazy.
You go crazy wanting to. You look for anything to break and
just scratch it.
Pass it through. You're like, oh.
I think that teaches you a great degree of what can I say? Focus. It happens to me a lot when I'm meditating. Say I can go for a meditation session in nature, right?
Yeah.
And there's bugs. So you have to sit still. And then you can't, unasikia tu hizo mabugs zinakutembelea, so like scratch, you're like, it's impermanent, just
it's not good.
let it go.
And it goes.
And sometimes you give in, you're like, by the way. It takes practice, that's why it's a fun thing to do also.
It's progressive.
Yeah.
Your struggle yesterday won't be the same one today. And today's will have surpassed yesterday's, and you pass today's, you'll be ready for tomorrow's.
Exactly.
Essentially trippy. When you look back in your history to this point here, does your path make sense to you?
It makes sense.
For you to be here right now, you look behind your leg. Yeah.
It makes sense. Yes. I would say yes. The big YES.
That's dope.
Yeah. It does make sense.
Do you think it making sense, doesn't it make it better for your life and reality compared to we didn't make sense to you guys? It makes it right now.
Definitely, yes, it makes my reality way better. It also helps me understand my purpose, right? And how to align. So once I know what my purpose is, same thing, I'll know what is good for me and what is bad for me because of that specific alignment. So that's is just it. This is my purpose. This is what I want. So things that are contradictory to that would not necessarily be a good thing for me.
Very, very interesting.
Exactly.
You didn't have time for it. Do you feel like I feel in life you have time for this or this opportunity cost? If you decide to have this podcast here, it's time away for you not to do something else.
But I'd rather,
But you'd rather,
right?
no. So the thing is that still being aligned to understand you're here and you're here. You're glad to be where you are. That trips me personally. I feel like out of all the things I would have done, I still get to enjoy the one thing that I chose to do.
Right?
Right?
There's a happiness in that, by the way.
Yeah.
A big one.
Having grown up in your way, schools attended, experiences you've had, things you've done and gone through your journey, what keeps you going? Since we need to let the audience and people who are listening to this and who are listening hear your word from another person's mouth after having watched this. We need to let them know it may be hard but still not impossible.
Sure.
Yeah. So what keeps you going? Because I think it's just crazy. Primary school is a stage on its own. High school is a stage on its own. There's just so many stages, and there's school, there's home, there's a lot of life all around that.
There's also after school.
And it's still after school.
There's a whole other different level of crazy.
So you're just like, life is hard. You're like, but it's still, people still make it. It's not impossible, right? So what keeps it going?
The fact that things keep unfolding for me every day, right? That keeps me going. Plus, I enjoy it. I have a deep sense of happiness when I see there's this moments of realization that you feel like there's a very blissful experience that comes with it. For me personally, as I'd say, like when I'm playing music, right? With the people that have been with me through the journey, it's so crazy. I'll run you through that story. With the people that I met a long time ago, never even imagined this is what we'd be doing right now. Yet we're doing it. Everyone is willing and able, and it's just happening as a result of, I don't know. There's a deeper purpose, and it's like we all know it, but with other people who haven't met us or who don't know us really, wouldn't get why do these guys keep doing this. It's not like we're getting paid. We look for money from our pockets to actually, it's not a thing that we're doing because we want money. It's not. It just has a deep sense of happiness, and it comes with a healing in it. See, especially when we are sharing what we have with other people. So if it's impacting us in a healing kind of way, it must be impacting other people in a healing kind of way. So we just have to keep doing what we're doing. Right?
It's a nice high. Sometimes I feel like, do you know those feelings that you can smell something and it can take your ears back to a place so far? You're like, hey, that's you, a boy, and then you can feel this is you being a boy, smelling that thing and having a certain experience that you had so many years ago. So the things I feel is we always want to get back to that place, so you feel that bliss. It's a place of bliss. Yeah, whatever it is, it connects to a point of bliss. You can connect with somebody like, you go on with your business. There's another one of like, no, I want to meet people. You meet somebody, you're like, hey, that was a good conversation. That was a good time. That was good vibes. Like, and you're like,
you can feel it beyond words.
Yeah. So getting that bliss, I feel the self. Every individual wants to get back to that place, but without having that place, we get to mold many other ways of trying to get there the wrong way. The way you say the Western culture to appeal,
Exactly.
rather than the true way. So the true way is meditation and some
So
other
simple,
long
yet so
line
high.
of enlightenment where you're like, with their life is so simple. Why do you complicate it? So simple but still hard. It's so hard, you're like, wow. You look at yourself, do you ever look at yourself, you're like, hey, yeah, I was young and stupid.
Yes.
Because
And I
you're like,
appreciate it. Because, you have to be young and stupid sometimes so that you can be able to understand. It's good to see the bigger picture. There's a reason as to why it's called the bigger picture. It has everything in there. So once you experience those things, you're like, I've gone through this. I don't know more of that. I'm all grown. So you're able to also help other people think. You're more enlightened because you've gone
see
through
the
it.
bigger picture, you're exposure, experience.
That's what we're here to do, experience. You can't come into this world and become enlightened without some kind of going through some kind of trajectory yenye itafanya yenyewe usikie what hey, I can't.
Damn.
Right.
This is Sense Nation.
The Sense Nation.
Sense Nation.
Where we make sense of life and reality.